Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Carolina Astrain. Adam Seibel has the night off. The Senate has passed a bill to avoid a government shutdown at midnight tonight. The Senate voted 88-9 to keep the government open for another 45 days. 9 Republicans voted against the funding bill. The bill now goes to President Joe Biden, who's expected to sign it into law. The agreement excluded money for Ukraine because House Speaker Kevin McCarthy said it should be considered separately. President Biden released a statement praising the bill for preventing what he called an unnecessary crisis that would have inflicted needless pain on millions of hardworking Americans. 4 people died Friday night in a fiery crash in Bowie, Maryland. The crash happened around 7:30 p.m. Friday when an SUV went off the roadway and crashed into a tree before catching fire. EMS arriving onto the scene found the SUV engulfed in flames. Authorities say no one in the vehicle survived the crash, and all 4 people were pronounced dead at the scene. The ages and genders of the deceased are unknown at this time. Investigators are working to determine what caused this crash and identify the people inside the SUV. Authorities in Florida have arrested the individual responsible for a fatal hit and run of a child Friday afternoon. Officials say 9-year-old Andres Martinez was riding his bike near his home in Fort Meade when he was struck and killed at 4:45 p.m. Martinez was hit in the rear of his bicycle by a red Chevrolet pickup truck. The truck did not stop and continued eastbound, fleeing the scene of the crash. Martinez was pronounced deceased on the scene by Polk County EMS. The driver, 45-year-old Gilbert Almaguer, was taken into custody and booked late Friday evening at the Hardy County Jail. Almaguer initially reported the hit and run to officials, saying he was a passenger in the truck, before later admitting to authorities that he was the only person in the truck. Sheriff Grady Judd spoke to the media briefly about the incident. An evacuation order remains in place for a portion of a rural city in Illinois after a deadly crash last night that resulted in the release of thousands of gallons of ammonia. Officials say 5 people, including 2 children, were killed and 5 others were injured in the multi-vehicle crash last night. One of the vehicles involved was a semi-truck carrying about 7,500 gallons of ammonia. About 4,000 gallons of that chemical spilled at the scene and dissipated into the air, creating a dangerous plume of gas.
It just evaporate, yeah, it just goes up into the air.
Okay, all right.
And that's what makes it dangerous. You just don't know where it's going. We've had several wind changes throughout the night in the last several hours, and it's just changing constantly. That's why we're telling people to stay back, don't try to drive to the scene, stay away.
Around 500 residents were asked to leave their homes, and the evacuation is expected to remain in place through Sunday morning. A U.S. military plane transporting the remains of Senator Dianne Feinstein arrived in her native California this evening. The plane, authorized by the White House, landed at San Francisco International Airport this evening and was met by military detail. Feinstein's casket was then carried to a waiting hearse as her family and loved ones looked on. According to a spokesperson for her office, the late senator was accompanied by her daughter, Catherine Feinstein, and Representative Nancy Pelosi on her final journey home to San Francisco. Feinstein and Pelosi served together in Congress for decades and were also friends and neighbors. The trailblazing senator and former mayor of San Francisco died early Friday morning at her home in Washington, D.C. She was 90 years old. Plans for Senator Feinstein's funeral have not yet been announced by her family. Governor Greg Abbott says a special lawmaking session will begin on October 9th, likely on school vouchers. The session comes as a rift between the Texas House and Senate grew following Attorney General Ken Paxton's impeachment trial, raising questions about the chamber's ability to compromise on education issues. The governor has threatened to call for more special sessions if lawmakers fail to pass a school choice proposal. A downtown pumpkin patch in Victoria on Constitution Street helped usher in the fall season, although temperatures have yet to start feeling fall-like in South Texas. Peaches and Tortilla Mercantile celebrates the fall each year by inviting vendors to showcase their wares, while also providing access to visiting customers to cotton candy, fresh flowers, and food trucks. Be sure to come to crossroadstoday.com to learn more about your area pumpkin patches. And speaking of the weather, let's go ahead and check in with First Warn Storm team meteorologist Howie Gordon. Nice to see you, Howie.
Just like old times, Carolina.
I know. I'm getting sentimental over here.
What's that?
I'm getting sentimental over here.
Me too. Just like the good old days. But you hit it right in the head. Hasn't really felt fall-like, though the rain did cool us down. We made it into the mid-90s today, but then we dropped into the 70s, believe it or not, from the rain cooling us down. Then we slowly did start to warm back up. We did hit some hot temperatures earlier today. Now, what's going on? So a lot of this activity is starting to wane a little bit, and that's probably going to happen overnight. But tomorrow, moisture is going to continue to push in from the east, and we can continue to see really similar conditions that we encountered today with our rain. We'll talk about our rain and our cold front that is headed our way. I'll talk about that in my full forecast in just a bit, Carolina.
Ooh, cold front. Something to look forward to. Thank you, Howie. A former high school homecoming queen is barred from attending this year's celebration over a sash she wore to graduation.
2023 Brazosport High School homecoming queen is Zoe Simpson.
Tonight, Brazosport High School has a new homecoming queen crowned by the homecoming queen from 2020. It was a moment Kaylee Craddock says she should have been part of.
Because it's a tradition and I just wanted to be able to do it. Everybody should be able to do it. I feel like graduation has nothing to do with homecoming.
Last year's queen was planning to come back home tonight, but then the district told her she had been uninvited because of her Mexican heritage stole from graduation. Brazosport ISD told KHU 11 the stole was not allowed and says Kaylee was told by a staff member to remove it and she refused to comply. They say the guidelines state, quote, graduation stoles and cords are school issued only. Kaylee denies that. During multiple interviews this week, she maintained she was told she could wear the sash and says no one told her to take it off. She'd hoped for a change of heart from the district, but they stood firm.
I mean, that's their choice. I really don't care no more.
And that's why she decided not to come to the game at all.
Yeah, I'm not going to go because I feel like it's just going to cause like a lot of attention, unnecessary attention.
Tonight, outside the game, parents told us they think the punishment was also unnecessary.
Homecoming queen is a big honor, and the tradition of handing it off the next year is a big deal as well. So it's just so petty.
But despite this outcome, Kaylee says she'll continue to fight for her culture and her beliefs.
Yeah, I'm always going to stand on what I believe in, no matter what anybody has to say.
That's leading us to tonight's viewer poll. Do you think students should be allowed to wear a heritage-related stole to graduation? Okay, let's take a look. 100% of you say yes. Thank you for taking part in tonight's viewer poll. Come to crosswordstoday.com/vote to take part in our future viewer polls. And a big congratulations to the Miss Cuero Court for winning first place in the Chambers and Festivals category and best overall in the Hallettsville Kolache Parade. The 27th annual Kolache Fest started at 7:30 a.m. this morning with a 5K run and walk, followed by a parade at 10 a.m. and included activities like dominoes. Do you know Hallettsville's famous for those domino tournaments, and a car show, a barbecue cook-off, and a kolache baking demo. The kolache came to America via Bohemian and Moravian Czech immigrants who immigrated en masse during the mid to late 1800s, making me hungry. All right, and the Victoria County Commissioners set to meet at 10 a.m. Monday. On the Commissioners' Court agenda is a proclamation for National 4-H Week, as well as the approval of a resolution nominating a candidate for the Victoria Central Appraisal District Board of Directors, a review of year-to-date numbers, and consideration of modifications to existing promotions at the Victoria Regional Airport. And Victoria City Council set to meet at 5 p.m. Monday. On the agenda is the approval of an agreement between the City of Victoria and Siddons Martin Emergency Group for the refurbishment of a 2009 Pierce Arrow pumper, and they'll also consider the approval of the annual purchase of uniforms for the Victoria Fire Department. And council members will also appoint a member to the Board of Health. Water hasn't flowed flowed to homes in a Liberty County neighborhood in more than 3 years. The water company says it can't get vehicles in to maintain its well. First responders won't navigate the neighborhood's narrow bridge and eroded dirt roads. Read the story by the Texas Tribune. It's posted on our website, crossroadstoday.com. And get your cell phone and scan this QR code. It's our quick response code to download the Crossroads Today app. You can get breaking news alerts, vote on our viewer poll, and you can also learn about our ongoing contest right there on the app. Submit those news tips and those birthday photos. Don't forget about birthdays. And also remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Crossroads Today. You can catch our newscast and even our community Crossroads footage all there. And stay with us. Coming up, we check out the latest on the United Auto Workers strike.
I think the season's starting to change because we're looking at potential showers for most of the week, and a cold front is headed our way. We'll talk about it coming up very soon.
Against the big three automakers expanded on Friday. Workers walking off the job at a Ford plant in Chicago that builds the Explorer and Lincoln Aviator, and a GM plant in Lansing, Michigan, which assembles the Buick Enclave and Chevy Traverse. The union says Stellantis, Chrysler's parent company, was spared, citing progress in the talks.
United Auto Workers President Shawn Fain making the announcement Friday. The union expanding its strike to 2 more plants, a Ford plant in Chicago and a General Motors plant in Lansing, Michigan.
We want to be in that factory working, making great product, making money for the company and making money for ourselves. This is our generation's defining moment. Either we turn this around now or we're going to be in big trouble down the road.
An additional 7,000 workers walking off the job Friday. That's a total of 25,000 now on strike, out of the nearly 150,000 UAW members.
2009, 2008, and 2007 made massive concessions so that the company could stay afloat. We were told at the time that we would get those back. We would get those things back. We've never gotten any of it back.
The UAW sticking with its demand for a 40% pay hike over a 4-year contract. The automakers have offered about half that.
It's terrible when you work at a place in the car that you build, you can't even afford to buy.
Workers also want job guarantees at new electric vehicle battery plants that have yet to start production. Meantime, the strike continues to have a ripple effect. The big 3 automakers have laid off workers at several plants. The latest, 130 employees at GM's Parma Metal Center in Cleveland, Ohio. The union there says they are prepared to join the picket lines.
We're on call, kind of, where it's just a matter of another announcement and President Fain deciding who's going to go next.
On Friday, GM CEO Mary Barra issued a statement saying they offered a record contract with wage increases, but the UAW is showing no real intent to reach an agreement. So far, buyers have not felt much impact, but that could change as the strike drags on. However, owners could feel the effects at the auto shop. Analysts say parts shortages could slow auto repairs. Phil Lipoff, ABC News, New York.
Migrants were stranded in Mexico on Friday, miles from the U.S. border after the freight train they were on top of abruptly stopped. Amid the ongoing suspension of dozens of northbound trains over fear around migrant safety, 60 northbound cargo trains run by Mexico's Ferromex were stopped last week after about half a dozen migrants suffered death or injury. The company later says it restarted some routes where there was no known heightened risk. And for more on today's news stories, come to crossroadstoday.com. Don't forget to submit your birthday wishes. I and Parker Cox will read your birthday wishes live on 25 News Now Sunrise. You can submit a local military hero so Adam Seibel can recognize them. All right, Howie, how's it looking out there? Is it something to look forward to?
I think you got it right there, Carolina. Is something to look forward to. A cold front headed our way. We'll talk about it straight ahead. All right. All right, time scarecrow. I'm laughing because Zach makes fun of my little, some of my Howieisms. But either way, so temps are going to get cooler. Rain in the forecast, cold front later in the week. Maybe it is fall now here in South Texas. But we hit 93 degrees today, 5 degrees above average. That didn't last all day, though. That rain and the cloud cover came down, cooled the ground, and that's what heats us up the ground. The ground was cooled down. Our temperatures dropped into the 70s for a period of time before we started warming up a little bit back up into the 80s. We were as high as 99 back in 1928. Here's what we have. So storms pushing in or moisture moving in, kind of colliding. When the moisture collides into the other moisture areas, then it kind of gets a lift. We see these showers. That could continue again tomorrow. Very similar conditions. I'm expecting it to wane a little bit overnight tonight for the most part, but it's not going to go away completely. Again, we're not getting washed out. There's wide open areas that are staying on the dry side, but very similar conditions that we experienced today. And at the moment, this should continue again tomorrow and could continue for a good portion of the week. Now, high pressure isn't too far away, but hey, with this moisture moving in and the sun destabilizing us a bit, it's enough to generate these showers. Then you get the sea breeze pushing in the afternoon, helping with some more lift. Now, a little bit of moisture in the area, not horrible fog, with some spots getting taken down to maybe 6 miles worth of visibility. So patchy areas in some locations. Either way, when you encounter the fog, you want to drive on the safer and the slower side. All right, here's what we had here. So very much on the stuffy side. As temperatures have come down, these numbers are on the higher side. So the real feel, yeah, very much uncomfortable here in the crossroads. Here's our future feel like. Now, we're going to continue to stay near that 100-degree mark with the heat indices or that real feel. The thing is, when that boundary comes down later on in the week, knocks our temperatures down a little bit, wrings out the atmosphere of moisture, we're going to really see a little bit of a cool down. Very necessary for these parts after the summer that we endured. So here we go, 102, 101, 102, 102. Look at that. That boundary comes down. A real feel temperature of 93 degrees. Now that's making some headway into fall. Here's what we have. I talked about the high. It's really controlling us for the most part, but it's a ways away from us. And because it's a ways away from us, that's less strength that it's going to have or less grip on us. So what does that mean? There's moisture moving in from the Gulf that's able to conjure up some showers. Again, kind of this moisture running into this moisture, that's lift, that's showers. Then you got the sun destabilizing the atmosphere further, moisture running into unstable air, and we're seeing some of that rain. It looks to really hold on to this pattern for most of the week, but then a boundary. I'm not going to show it on this side coming all the way our way, but it's going to move pretty close. By Tuesday, it's going to be just outside of Texas, but by Thursday into Friday, that front should push through. It's going to deliver showers, and then it's going to wring us out from moisture, and then cooler air should move down behind. But either way, with the rain combined with that front, we're going to see some cooler temperatures here in the crossroads. So we're still a few good days away, or maybe Thursday, Fridays, but that boundary is making its way into the crossroads. Here's a look at what we have. So I talked about really daily showers. Again, moisture pushing in from the Gulf, getting some lift, the sun helping to stabilize us, and not wash it. Now, we saw over 2 inches of rain today in portions of the viewing area, but we could continue to see similar conditions, not complete washouts, because it might rain heavy for 30 minutes, then stay on the drier side, very unlike or very similar to what we endured today. But yeah, we could have some heavy bands as we move into Tuesday and into Wednesday. Here's our marine forecast. Here's what we got. 86 degrees for our water temperature, seas 3 to 5 feet. That'll keep our bays on the choppy side. Here's what's going on in the tropics. We are safe here in Texas. These two tropical storms really, for the most part, weakening, but staying in the middle of the open Atlantic, not causing really problems to anybody. So 76 degrees overnight under partly cloudy skies. I said we could start to dry off a little bit overnight, but then I can see these showers resuming again tomorrow. 40% chance of rain, a little bit breezy, but hey, still 91. That is above average. So possible alert. Okay, it's in the background there. I have that possible alert for later on in the week. I was wondering where the first little icon went. I guess it was enlarged behind my graphic here. But Sunday, 30% chance. Monday, 40. Tuesday, 40. Wednesday, 40. Eventually, the boundary comes down with showers. Look at that, knocking our temperatures down. Hey, 87, 85 is a cool down in these parts, believe it or not. All right, so for more weather news and sports, you go to our app. That's at crossroadstoday.com, and that is free with any Android and iPhone. And now we go to Sports with Zach.
I will have high school football recaps coming up in sports. Well, Tidehaven's defense came into last night not allowing a single point all year long, and defensive coordinator Bobby Gonzalez says his guys are ugly because they get to the ball. He calls them the children of the corn. They feasted last night. First play of the game was a sack. Now, they did allow their first touchdown on the season, but they did get the win, 15-7. The Refugio Bobcats, fresh off their win over Bloomington, traveled to number 13, Three Rivers. The Bobcats looking a whole lot like that preseason number 1. They got the win. Only blemish on the record is week 1 against Hitchcock. The East Titans welcomed a tough, undefeated Miller to Memorial Stadium. Now the East Titans got the loss, but that offense was clicking. The Titans looking great under first-year head coach Charlie Reed. The UHV Jags, fresh off its Red River Athletic Conference Championship, got to step back out on the diamond. They scrimmaged Wharton County Junior College, got to knock some rust off. Coach Davinoa happy to be playing someone other than themselves. And while the baseball team was out on the diamond, the girls kicking it down at the cage and rattling some nets as well. Beautiful free kick there, going to make it 5-1. The Jags would end up winning 7-1. And on the men's side, they used 4 second-half goals, capped off by a great move by Mateo Canales to get past the goalkeeper. Final score, 4-0 Jags. And the Texas Longhorns got the win today on the back of former Hallersville Brayman Jonathan Brooks. 54-yard touchdown right here. That is 3 straight 100-yard games. He had over 200. Today, he's only the 3rd Longhorn to do that in the last decade. The Houston Astros clinched a playoff berth for the 7th straight season. Not a pretty season, but they got it done. That's it for your sports. Carolina, back to you.
All right, thank you, Zach. Coming up, the White House installed a giant birthday cake to celebrate former President Jimmy Carter's upcoming 99th birthday. All right, well, it's been entertaining and interesting evening of news. And before we get our last look at our forecast, we want to invite you to experience the Crossroads Today Plus app. You can find it on your connected TV. All right, let's take a look at our last story for the show. The White House installed a giant birthday cake to celebrate former President Jimmy Carter's upcoming 99th birthday. The 3-tiered red, white, and blue wooden cake display is located on the north lawn. It includes 39 red, white, and blue candles in a nod to President Carter being America's 39th president. The White House says the cake will remain on display through the weekend. There are several events taking place for President Carter, many pushed up to today amid the looming government shutdown, including a party at the Jimmy Carter Presidential Library and Museum. Wow, I know that cake is made out of wood, but I'm not sure. Well, even if it were real cake, I don't think I'd take a bite, Howie, because we've been talking about dieting all night.
It's always someone's birthday. Like every day there's some type of a holiday or celebration, and then if you're trying to eat, decently healthy, it just throws you off completely. 199. Wow, God bless that guy. That's absolutely awesome. Anything to say about Jimmy?
Absolutely not. I don't know much about him, not going to lie.
Is he sick? I thought he was sick.
Too sure, but he is really well known for being a champion of peace talks.
Right.
He's a uniter, former President Carter, and I think he's got quite the love story too. Him and his wife are quite the couple, quite the dream couple.
Well, God bless both of them. You're 99 is. I'll sign up for that, and you're doing a great job there, Jimmy. I mean, 99, and he's still a healthy guy for the most part. But
speaking of 99, we're getting away from
99 in
temperatures.
terms of I knew you're going at. That boundary right there is going to guarantee us we stay under 99. It should probably make its way into the Crossroads Thursday and into Friday, depending upon if it slows down or speeds up. But looking ahead, here's what we got. So overnight 76. I think that rain might wane a little bit, stay on the drier side. Then tomorrow I got a 40% chance. Similar conditions we had today where we saw over 2 inches of rain in portions of the viewing area. Looking ahead, look at that. I said rain potentially each and every day this week. 40% chance. Then I got the possible alert day for Thursday when the boundary comes through with a 60% chance of some showers. So yeah, 99 is no longer in the equation, Carolina.
Bring on that stormy weather, but no accidents,
We're looking
please.
forward to it.
Forward, looking forward.
She got that one. That's hers.
Have a great night.